Good evening, Cricut family South Africa. My name is Soraya. Welcome to this Facebook Live. If you can hear me and see me, please let me know in the comments. Hello, Max. Oh my goodness, so good to see you. Hello, Humaira. Hello, Alba. Welcome to the class. Hello, Sarah. Oh my goodness, it's been forever since I've seen you guys. You all look very different. Hello, Judy. Okay, Meg said you can hear me and see me. Oh, awesome. So I'm just going to wait for a few seconds for more people to join and then we'll get started with this live. You guys all look so different. I missed you guys. So this is my first class in like 6 months because my camera died in December, and so technology is awful. And so I've been waiting, and now I'm back with you guys. I'm sure all my beginners are now intermediate, and that is the class that we are doing today. It is an intermediate class sponsored by Cricut and Logitech. So today we are doing a class on acetate. So our focus is going to be Cricut Acetate. If you have used acetate before, let me know in the comments. Hello Candice, hello Kirsty. So if you've used acetate, let me know. And today what we are going to be making, or our project is going to be one of these tumbler bouquets. If you have used acetate, let me know what kind of projects you've done. I know it is absolutely awesome to do cake toppers and boxes as well. So I'm just going to change my camera. Hello everyone, good to see you guys again. Oh my goodness, you guys all look different. So today we are doing one of these tumbler bouquets, and unfortunately what I realized when I was setting up my cameras for this class today is that this thing is humongous, and so it doesn't actually fit underneath my camera that I use for the class. So I'm going to have to use my front camera, and you guys are going to see me. And today I'm actually going to use a smaller tumbler for the class, so you can actually see me do the assembly, because this top of the tumbler actually reaches close to the camera. So this is what we are going to make today. It is going to be, it's called a tumbler bouquet. And so whatever you want to put inside it, you can. I know it is a huge Cricut project, or something that we all love. I know I still love doing it, is making tumblers and Libby cups with names on it. And so I was thinking of a different way just to add a little bit something to that sort of a project, or that kind of a gift. Or this is actually amazing to add to your small business. And this is a little bit different. So it is one of these bouquets, and you can see, so I am a skincare girly, so I've added some skincare things. So there's a mask back here, this is a headband that you use, and some like spa things. What is on my hand? I have lotion on my hand. And this is a little hair thing, and it all comes in a set. So I will plug you guys with where I get the set from. And then here, so I'm just going to take it out of the bouquet so that you can see it. What I made for it is, this is a little acetate decor. So this is a simple one. This is just a layered one that's got the foil acetate. It's got a little pearl up here as well. That is very simple. So what I like to do is, if my bouquet has a lot going on, then I like to keep my decor a little bit on the simple side. If my bouquet is doesn't have too much on it, then what I like to do is I like to go a bit extra with the decor, and then I might do like an acetate box and put some candy in there or something else. Hello, Susie. It's so good to see you as well. And so this is what we are going to be making in the class today. So this one is smaller, as you can see, so I can assemble it with you guys being able to see properly. It is a little bit harder for me to use this. I must admit, this wasn't what I was going to use for the class today. This one is easier because it has a bigger mouth, and so you can easily put things inside. This one is smaller, so it is a little bit more fiddly, but at least you can see how you can do both types of tumblers. And so this one, what I made for this one is actually a 3D butterfly. So the butterfly is a cutout on the acetate. So you can see there's a couple of layers here, a little bit more complex to this one. This one is just a little bit more fun. So we are going to pivot today. So this actually was supposed to go on a box for lipstick, but I will show you guys that as well. So that is our class. What are we using today? I'm going to come over here. So Cricut Acetate, we've got plain acetate. So this is the plain clear sheets. And what I used in the project today is the Love Notes one. I absolutely love this one. So in this one, you've got some pinks, you've got silvers, and you've got some red. They are beautiful, they are holographic, and they just make everything extra sparkly. And then I also have this acetate as well, which is very similar. It's also foil acetate, but these are black and gold colors. And then I'm also going to use cardstock as well. So I have some Cricut cardstock that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use some glitter cardstock. And what else? So acetate, we are going to be using either a standard grip mat, or we are going to use a standard grip mat, or today I'm actually going to use the strong grip mat, but you can definitely use the standard grip mat. To cut your acetate, you need a fine point blade. You don't need anything fancy. So you can do this project whether you have a Joy, Joy 2, Joy Extra, the Explore series, or the Maker series. You do not need a knife blade or anything like that. And as we get started, I'm going to show you the rest of the things that we need, because I'm not going to use all of it, but I will show you how you can use it if you make your own. All right, so something I like to do before I get started with my project. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to take this one apart, and then we're going to do it together. So before I start designing in Design Space, what I like to do is I actually like to assemble my tumbler. And then once I assemble my tumbler and put everything that I want to use in its place, then I measure the space in the center, or the space that needs to be filled with some decor or flowers or anything like that. So that is my tip for you. Have a measuring tape ready. And I will say the hardest part of this project is just getting everything where it needs to go without it moving around. So once you set it up, so this will be my setup, and then I've measured here, and that's where my decor is going to go. So we can hop over to Design Space and start designing. So this is the project. We've shared the link with you so you can do the project or you can design your own. So I'm going to say customize. Oh, it is on my screen. Hello Zelda, hello Lolly. All right, so this is the project. So what do we have here? I'm just going to ungroup it and show you each of the elements. So in the front here, I've got a butterfly, and there are 3 parts to the butterfly. And then the gray part here that you can see, that is the acetate, and you can see there is a cutout, and I'm going to show you how I created the cutout. And then I also have the happy birthday, which is done with vinyl. So we're going to go through that as well. All right, so let's group that and let's start designing. So I'm just going to hide that and get going with our design. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to add a shape to the canvas. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back so that you guys can see as we go along. So here, the first part I'm going to do is the outline. So putting my shape onto the canvas, I'm going to flip vertical. Thank goodness that it shows you which way is vertical and horizontal, because I don't know. All right, and so after I measured, I knew that my shape needed to be 7.6. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. It's been so long since I've been with you guys. I'm nervous. So if I say random weird things, please forgive me. It's been a while. All right, so that's what I'm going to put on my screen to start with, and that is my acetate layer. So I'm going to make it gray. Next, I'm going to add the text, the happy birthday text. So I'm going to add text to the screen. And I'm going to, so it looks like it used the same text that I'd used before. So I'm just going to write happy birthday. Now, the text that I decided to use, I decided to go with a block text, a block font that is a little bit on the thicker side, because we are putting this on acetate and it is going to be a shimmer vinyl. So I decided to go with a thicker block font for that. And so I'm going to bring it close to here, and then I'm going to use the curve feature to curve it around my shape. And something I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to go to format and I'm going to reduce the letter space. So the reason for this, let me bring it over here, is when you curve your letters, I do notice that when you curve your words, you will notice that the letters spread out a little bit more. So what I like to do is when I'm using the curve feature, I like to bring it a little bit closer so that when I do the curve, which is here, we're going to go to effects and we're going to curve it. Now I love the guides on Cricut. As you can see, it's showing me exactly where that's going to sit. And I should have actually centered this before I started curving. And that looks good. So I'm going to reduce it maybe just a touch. And something like this. I quite like that. And here again, if you wanted to, you can then reduce the letter space again, just to make sure that it is not too far out or spread out for the letters. So I'm going to go a little bit closer with my letters. And that's perfect. I like that. So here we have the text. Let's go back to our original. So we have our first shape and we have our text. And now we need to add the outline. So how I did that is I clicked on the word and I went with an offset. So with the offset, you're going to go to more. You're going to go to effects and offset. Let me bring this down so you can see. Okay. And if you are a beginner in this class and I'm going too fast, you can always catch up or ask questions. We've got some amazing people in the chat that will answer your questions, and I will try to also look down and see your questions as well. So this is an intermediate class, so if you are in this class, you should have already used features such as the offset, that I've used, and the welding and things like that. So I'm going to go a little bit faster, but if you need a little bit of help, please do ask and I can go through a little bit slower with you. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I think my letters are a little bit too far apart, so I'm going to bring them a little closer. Again, whoops, not that close. Let's go here. That's better. Okay. I just wanted to bring them a little closer together. And the reason for that is when I bring my offset, I want all of the letters to touch. And I'm just going to eyeball the offset. I think I'm going to go for somewhere around here, which is 1.7. Let's go 1.7. So you can see with a 1.7 offset, all the letters are attached together. There's some gaps, but not too many, but the main part of the words are attached together, which is exactly what we want. And so I'm going to make it that color. So I think you can see here where we're going with this. We are going to weld those two together. But before I do that, what I want to do is I'm going to bring this a little higher so that it touches a little bit more. And let's go here. Okay, that's fine. And then what I'm going to do here is now, before I weld this, I can see my happy is not touching all the way, which is fine. As long as some of it is touching, we are going to use the contour and we're going to contour some of that. So it's okay if it's not completely touching, because I'm just going to eyeball that and we're going to contour whatever gaps are there. Now, before we weld these two together, what I want to do is I want to sort out the size here. So when I put this shape, the pennant or the art, whatever you want to call it, on my canvas, I didn't resize it then. I sized the width, but not the length. And that is because I want the length with the wording to be specific. And so that's why I decided to leave the shape as it was. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a square, you can choose a square, onto my canvas. And I'm going to size it to 9 centimeters because that's how long I want my whole piece to be. So I'm just going to go 9. Okay, so this is the size I want my piece to be. So I'm going to align it to the top. And so what I'm doing now, let me bring the shape to the front. So if you remember, we didn't group anything, we didn't attach anything, we didn't weld anything. So these shapes are still separate. So me bringing this square and kind of measuring where I want it to be, if I grab the arch or the pennant and the square and I slice, you will see when I get rid of the black that it's sliced off that extra piece that I don't need. And now my decor is exactly the size that I need it to be. And so that is how you can kind of judge without going over. So what I sometimes do is I'll put the words and then I'll adjust the size. But because the words are already small, I didn't want to have to adjust the wording in order to get the right size. I wanted to adjust the shapes, if that makes any sense. All right, and so before we do the rest of it, before we weld, I'm going to add a frame to this pennant. So I'm going to use a negative offset here, and I'm gonna go to, let's say, negative 3.5, so around about there. And that's how I created the frame. So I'm gonna go back to my original one, and to duplicate it, if you've been in my classes before, you know I like to just add a 0 offset to duplicate something exactly where it is. And now I'm going to take that smaller offset that I just did, and I'm going to slice these and delete them. And now you will see I have my frame and I have my acetate piece. And so now here is where we can hide those two, grab this, combine and weld them together to create the frame that we need. And now, because I don't want all of these really tiny pieces, you'll see here there's a tiny piece, here there's a tiny piece. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the contour feature to hide all those really tiny pieces that we really don't need. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide all contours, and then I'm going to go and turn back the ones that I think are big enough to be a part of this project. And so I'm going to click apply, and now you can see it's just this one here and this one here that is left. And so now I can bring that to the back, and here we have our frame for our project. And now all we have to do is work on the butterfly part. So I'm going to go to images. If you have any questions, please let me know. Susie said the screen is blurry. Susie, I am watching on my phone and it looks clear to me. If you want to just reload your page, perhaps that's the problem, but it is clear on my side. Okay, so here I search for layered butterfly because I did want the beautiful wings to create an effect, a 3D effect. So here you can see Design Space already has some great options, like this first one with the black wings being smaller, and then the other cardstock or whatever you're using a little bit bigger. So that's really great. You can find tons of options here on Design Space. But I wanted to create a cutout on my acetate. So I found a butterfly, this monarch one, and I'm going to show you why it was my choice for this project. Okay, it's huge. Okay. All right, so before I show you the butterfly, let me just bring it over here and size it. And I think that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to bring it over here and show you the reason I chose this butterfly. So, Nadia, of course I'll forgive you, maybe. All right. So here is this butterfly. So I'm just going to ungroup it, and then I'm going to hide the pieces and show you the reason why I chose this one for my project. So if I hide this first layer, you can see that the antenna of the butterfly is only on the first layer, which is what I wanted for this project. So here is the first layer, the second layer, third layer, and the fourth layer. And so what I wanted to do here, because I wanted to make a 3D, the first thing I did was add score lines to the canvas. And so what I'm going to do here, because the score lines are black and the butterfly is black, I'm going to make this yellow just so that we can see. And I'm going to bring it here, and I'm going to come all the way closer and bring this here. So now what I'm doing with these score lines, if you can see, I'm putting it on either side of the butterfly without getting it on the butterfly, what do you call this, on its head. And then I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to do the same on this side, put it here without getting it on its head. So this is going to be the score lines for my cardstock. I'm going to group it, and then I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to delete this white layer because I don't want the white layer of this butterfly. So I'm going to duplicate this 4 times, even though we have 3 layers, but we do have an acetate layer as well. And I'm just going to bring these up here. Oops. And I'm going to put them together. Okay, and I'm just going to grab them all and align. Oopsie, not center, back, back, back. Let's zoom out. And I'm just going to align horizontal so that it's all in perfect place. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, still leaving this yellow, I'm going to grab one of those group of score lines, and I'm going to grab one of the layers of the butterfly, and I'm going to attach it. Okay, so when you're using score lines, you want to attach. So I'm going to attach them and attach, and that just makes sure when you go to your when you go to your Make It mat, your score lines go with your project. Okay, so here all 3 layers have attached score lines, and so I'm going to turn this one back to black. All right, and now I'm going to bring these here to my project. Okay, actually let me bring my project down to it. So I'm going to group these, and I'm going to bring it down. Okay, so the reason there's an extra set of score lines, the reason there's an extra set of score lines is because we are going to also score the acetate. But before we do that, we need to create the outline for the acetate. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to hide this first level. I'm going to hide the second level, and this back layer here, I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to put an offset. And I'm going to do an offset of about 1.7 again. Okay, and that gives a good outline for my acetate. I'm going to apply, and now I'm going to bring this out because it's attached, and I'm going to hide this orange one. So here we have the offset that is going to be what we're going to cut out of our acetate. However, I don't want to just slice this out of the acetate because then it's just going to slice the butterfly out. It's not attached to anything. So what I want to do here is I want to create a cutout. And so I had to think about this really hard, how to do this. So let me do a quick demonstration so you guys can understand what I mean. So if I grab this and I grab the butterfly and I slice, you will see here that if I just remove those, there's just a hole, and that's not what I want. I want it to be a floating 3D butterfly. And so I had to think about a way to make a cutout. And so here to my offset, I'm going to add another offset. So the offset that I'm going to use is a negative 0.002 offset. And now this is the small one, so I'm just gonna name this one small, and that's the larger one. Now I'm going to slice these two out of the main acetate layer. So I'm going to grab the acetate layer and I'm going to grab the big one and I'm going to slice. Okay, and I'm going to delete that. And now you can see that the smaller one is still here and it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it is going to help us bring back the butterfly with a little bit of a gap. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a shape. I'm just going to use a square. And I'm going to make this just, the square is going to be just a little bit bigger than my score lines. Okay. And so this was my small butterfly. So I'm going to grab the small butterfly, I'm going to grab the square, and I'm going to grab the background shape that we have, and I'm going to combine and weld. And you can see here now what I've created is a cutout in the acetate. So this is how you are going to create your cutout. If anybody knows how to create a cutout any other way, please let me know. But as you know, to create the cutout, you do need just a single cut and you need some of your shape to be touching. Cricut has some amazing cutout cards. So I saw, I missed your name. I think it was Rulani. Please forgive me. I think I read that in passing. This is an intermediate class, so this is a little bit more challenging than it would be for a beginner. If you are a beginner and you want to create something like this, Cricut has some amazing cutout cards where this is already done for you and you don't have to do any of it. The cutout is already done. But if you are an intermediate and you know how to use your features such as offset that we were using, weld that we were using, slice that we were using, then you can watch these and follow along and create your own designs. So that's what we do with the intermediate classes. We level up our skills using the stuff that we learned in the beginner classes. All right, so don't feel discouraged if you are not completely following. Oh, there you are. It is Rulani. Don't feel discouraged if you aren't exactly following if you're a beginner, because this is an intermediate class and we are just using features that as a beginner you should know already. So here you can see are my score lines that I was reserving. And so I'm also going to grab these and attach them to my acetate, which made my acetate go black. Oh, I attached everything. Okay, back. All right, so I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna grab the score lines and I'm going to attach. So that is attached to my acetate and I'm going to bring this to the front and I'm going to bring back my butterfly. Oh, let's send this to the back. Send to the back, and there's my butterfly. So that is our design. This is how we are making our 3D acetate butterfly. And now we are going to make this. And so I'm going to delete this because I already have my project and I'm going to go to the maker page. So I've already cut out the black glitter cardstock just so that we can save some time. So I'm going to go to the Make It page now. So yes, if you are a beginner, ready-made templates, and I've got my project shared on Design Space as well. So if you are a beginner, you absolutely do not need to design from scratch. You can just follow one of the amazing Cricut ambassadors who share their projects, and you can do your project. Okay. So we're going to start with the foil acetate. Let me switch you over to the mat. Hello. Okay, let me shift over here. So like I said, today for the acetate, I am going to be using the strong grip mat. However, you can use a standard grip mat. That's what you should be using for your project. Ooh. Oh, maybe I should be using a standard one. My strong grip mat is very, very new. So hopefully it doesn't eat up my acetate. And so the acetate I'm going to be using today is this beautiful foil acetate. Now with this foil acetate, there is a right way and a wrong way. So the hearts are facing this way, but there is also a protective sheet on your acetate. So let me just figure out which side the protective sheet is. Now it took me a minute to figure this one out. So if you're using the clear acetate, okay, so if you're using the clear acetate sheet, there will be a protective layer on the front and the back. With the foil acetate, there's only a protective layer at the back, the side that's going to go onto your mat. So I'm going to stick it down and I'm going to use my brayer. So tips when using acetate or when cutting acetate is to use a very sticky mat and to bray it down. That's how you are going to get very good cuts with your acetate. Because my mat is new, it should be asking me to put my scoring wheel. Let's go back to Design Space. Yes, it's asking me to put in my scoring wheel. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to press go. Okay, because my mat is a strong grip mat and my mat is new, I am not going to tape it down. However, if I'm using a standard grip mat, I am going to use tape to make sure that it's not moving. When your material is stuck really well and you bray it onto your mat, that's when you are going to get your cleanest cuts. You're also going to get good cuts when you have a new blade or a clean blade or a sharp blade. So always check that you don't have any residue on your blade or anything like that. So this is the single scoring wheel that I used to score. This has a quick swap release. So if you buy any of the Cricut attachments that come with the quick swap, this is what it looks like. So you just buy one quick swap and then you can change the tips. So what do the tips look like? The tips look exactly like this one. This is the scoring blade. There's a double scoring blade. The engraving tip also looks the same. You just press here and you change the tip. Roxy said, thank goodness, very beginner here. Roxy, I love my beginners. I used to teach the beginners classes here. I love the beginners. I know this does look challenging, but what I'm going to suggest is with my projects, I try to do either the assembly is intermediate or the design is intermediate. And today, if you look at my actual project, the finished project, you can see this is just layers. There's nothing challenging about putting together this project. And so for intermediates today, the challenge was the design process. However, the assembly process is actually pretty simple. And so here you can see I'm just lifting up to make sure that it's cut, and I can see that it's cut. So I'm gonna unload, and then I'm going to turn the mat over onto my protective sheet to remove the acetate. Oh my goodness, this is a very, very, very new mat. As you can tell, it's a bit excited. So I'm going to try and be very careful removing this acetate to make sure that I don't break the wings. Shoo! Okay. So like I was saying, the assembly of this project is on a beginner level. So today the challenge for the class was actually learning more design work than anything. So there's my mat, and here's my cutout, whoopsie, which is perfect. And then you can see, because we did that little offset hack, I have a little wings over there. So let's put my mat cover back on. Wow, that mat was like crazy strong. And we're gonna switch over to the lycra mat, which is also new. Okay, so as a beginner, who was I talking to? Roxy. As a beginner, what I always suggest is if your design part of your project that you are trying to learn how to design yourself, if the design part is challenging, go for something that has an easy assembly, and that's the way you're going to gain confidence. So you're going to struggle a little bit with the design, but when it comes to doing your assembly, it's going to be a breeze. And likewise the other way around. If you're doing something that's new, for example, acetate might be a new material for you. If you are doing something that's new, then go with a simple design so that you put your time and your effort into a new assembly that you might not know or understand. And that's the way I like to do my projects when I'm learning. So next up, I'm going to do medium cardstock. I'm going to do a holographic cardstock, and let's go back to the mat. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I was once a very, 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 very beginner. My very first beginner project, I didn't even put the vinyl on the mat where it was supposed to go. So this mat is also new, so I'm going to just be very gentle. Okay, and I'm going to load that in. Hello Toki, welcome to the class. And oh, what happened there? That was a weird one. Okay, let's go to... That was odd. Okay. Did I press the wrong button? No. Cut. Oh, okay, there you go. So here is our acetate, and I can see there are like a few little pieces that need to come out. Oopsie, I got it on the mat. And that's it. So that's our acetate piece. I'm not going to take the backing off just yet, but you can see here, this is the backing that I was talking about. The raccoon fingers are back. And cut. Okay. then again, so a tip for beginners, I always try to make sure, always check to make sure by lifting one of the corners to see that it's cut through. So I know so I can see that it's cut through. Now I'm going to press the unload button. If it wasn't cut through, I would press cut again. If your project hasn't cut through, and I do this for vinyl, I do this for cardstock, once you unload your mat, unfortunately, you cannot get it to cut in the same place. However, if you do it before you unload your mat, you can save your project. Okay, and then we're going to do light cardstock for this one. Okay, and then I'm sure you saw when it comes to cardstock or anything, when I cut, I always make sure that I remove the material from the mat and not pull, or remove the mat from the material, sorry, and not just pull the material off the mat, because that's how you warp your cardstock, etc. Okay, and here are my, it's holographic. Why is it not hollowing? Holographic. Shanine said, I noticed your spaces are not, oh boy. So Shanine, this is a thing that ambassadors do, unfortunately. So when you're cutting chipboard, when you're cutting basswood, for example, you have to move your star wheels over, and I unfortunately did not move them back. So that's why these are called star wheels. That's why they're all over the place and not in the right spot, because I am one of those people that never moves it back. Yes, I have forgotten it when I was doing basswood and chipboard, and it will leave little pizza lines on your basswood or chipboard. Why didn't I do my vinyl first, so that I could have been weeding my vinyl? With acetate, I don't really notice that it does anything. I don't notice that it makes any lines on your acetate. However, you can still move it to the side when you do your acetate as well. We are very forgetful when it comes to moving them back. So I'm just going to use my weeder and try to see if all my pieces, yes, so you can see I just weeded out a piece that I lost to make sure that it is and this is what I meant by removing your mat from your piece instead of moving your piece from your mat. So your mat is not going to tear, it's not going to break, they're very strong, so you can remove them. And at this point my spatula would be great, but I'm going to use this just to make sure that I don't tear the butterfly. Okay, so you can see just how delicate this butterfly is. If I was trying to lift it up off the mat, it would definitely warp and possibly tear it. And so let me just get rid of this. Okay, and swept it into the bin. No, I didn't, it's on my floor. All right, and then lastly, I have the vinyl that I'm going to cut, and this is a shimmer vinyl that I'm going to use. So I'm going to switch here we're going to go browse on materials, and I'm going to say shimmer and shimmer vinyl. Okay. Going back to the mat. Okay, we have 8 minutes. Can we do this? No, we can't. Sorry guys, it's my first class back in a while. All right, it's still thinking. We did choose shimmer vinyl. Yes, we did. It is still thinking. Okay. Let me unload it. It did that earlier. Oh, it disconnected. Yes. So you should move your wheels back in place, because it is going to be how your materials keep in this right space. So I am, for some reason, my machine's disconnected. So I'm just gonna turn it off and on again. Of course, always. Okay, I'm going to cancel the cut, and I'm just going to reconnect. So Shanine asked, so the shimmer versus glitter. So this is a vinyl that I'm using, not a cardstock. It is a vinyl, a shimmer vinyl. However, oh, I wish I had a piece with me. When you cut Cricut glitter cardstock, and this is one of my, the reasons why I absolutely love Cricut glitter cardstock. When you cut Cricut glitter cardstock, the glitter actually doesn't come off at all, which is really, really cool. There's no residue that comes flying off. I know when I cut other glitter cardstocks, you'll find glitter all over the place, but the Cricut glitter cardstock doesn't do that. And then when you look at shimmer and glitter, the shimmer is a lot smoother than glitter. The glitter is a bit more textured. Oopsie, forgot to switch back. We're cutting, sorry. I know, the Cricut, I don't know, there must be a Cricut ghost. Okay, so here with the shimmer vinyl, I'm going to also lift up. So usually here I would use my weeder to see if it's cut through, but I don't have a strong light at the moment, so I'm just going to check that way. All right. So we don't need that anymore. Did we cut all of our mats? Yes, we did. We are done. And we can move this away. Okay, so here are all of our pieces. So we've got our acetate, we've got our cardstock, and here we have our vinyl. And now I'm going to just quickly weed the vinyl. Nadia's forgiving. Are you being kind to me? Because this is my first class back and I was about to have a mental breakdown. I was so nervous, you guys. I'm very, very nervous to do this class, which is crazy because I've been doing classes for over 3 years now, I think. Well, no, okay, I had a 6-month break now, but let's come up here. Okay, so I'm going to weed. Now, usually when I weed vinyl, I like to weed the inside of the words first. But because I don't have a spotlight, the shimmer vinyl is a little harder to see. There you go. Let me turn the light up. So what I usually do is when I'm weeding vinyl, so the inside of the A, the inside of the P, the inside of the B, for example, that's what I weed first. But today we're just going to go ahead and do it this way. Okay, so there is our vinyl weeded. I did bring my, or plug in my glue gun so that it is ready for us. And I'm going to just pop it over here. All right. So to assemble this, so all of our cardstock has score lines. Whoopsie daisy. Let's turn it this way. There you go. All of our cardstock has score lines. So I'm just going to do a small score on these, but I'm not going to do too much because as I assembly, they will be, the score will come. And then this is the black. How delicate and beautiful is that? Okay. And so just to make sure that I'm putting the vinyl on the right side, I'm going to take off the protective case. Now, normally I would wait till the end to take off the protective case, but we are on a time crunch today, so we are just going to go, go, go. All right. And so now I'm going to put the vinyl on, and I lost my transfer tape. Oh boy, what did I do with my transfer tape? Oh, I know where I did. I put it under the mat. All right, so when you are using shimmer vinyl, which is this one, you do need strong grip transfer tape. Your regular transfer tape is not going to pick it up, so you want to use the strong grip. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to bray from the front, you want to turn it over, and you want to bray from the back. When you do this, you make sure that there are no bubbles, and this is also what helps with your application of your material as well. So if you're using vinyl and you're noticing bubbles, do check how you are applying it to your transfer tape, because that does make a difference. And some of my backing is tearing here. Okay, so it does actually help if you make sure that you don't have any bubbles in your, when you're doing this step. It does help a big lot. All right, so here I'm going to just bring this closer to me so that I can align it nicely. And I think I need a white background to be able to see. So here, what I would do for beginners is use parchment paper. So parchment paper is your baking paper. That is a good way for you to make sure that you are aligning your letters properly, is to use parchment paper, because the vinyl won't stick to the parchment paper. And so you can use that as a protective layer between your transfer tape and your vinyl and your project. Oh my goodness, this strong grip tape is so strong. It's pulling up the paper that I stuck it on. but it's fine. We got it on our acetate fine. This is why I don't like, if anybody remembers circa 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, where I got stuck to the strong grip transfer tape in my class. Generally, I will use standard grip transfer tape sometimes, but I wanted to make sure today that we got this in one go, so I did use the strong grip. So here our vinyl is on, and now we're going to do the rest. So remember, our acetate was scored. So before I do that, I'm going to stick on my frames. So for acetate, I like to use Jewel Bond. So today I am going to use some hot glue. That's just so that we don't have to wait for it to dry. But I prefer using Jewel Bond and then just giving my project some time to sit before I move it. You can definitely use Jewel Bond or any kind of, or a good cold glue on your acetate, and then when you apply your glue, make sure you're doing it to the edges so that your when you stick it down, none of the glue shows through the acetate. Okay, so you want to go more towards the edges, so if your glue does bleed, it bleeds out and not in towards your acetate, because then you will see it. If any glue does bleed, okay, I don't have any here, but if any glue does bleed, just take your weeding tool and just quickly scrape it off, and that way you can save it from bleeding through or showing once it dries. Okay, so with this one, I'm not going to put a holder for it, so I'm just going to glue the back. But with my other one, I did put a toothpick, and so I only put the back once I put the toothpick on. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so here it is so far. It's looking great. And now we're going to assemble this butterfly, and all the glue is going everywhere. Okay, so it is the yellow. So I'm just gonna put a small dot of glue here. I'm not going to go crazy with it. So the whole point of this project was to have a very moving 3D effect on the butterfly, and so that's why I'm not over gluing anything. I'm trying to keep it like a lot of movement in it. That's why I'm using the hot glue, because it's gonna stick, but at the same time you can see here we've created some beautiful movement with that. And now we're going to stick it onto the backing. So this is what I was talking about, Roxy. You can see that the assembly of this project is pretty simple, or the assembly of this part of the project is pretty simple. It was the design that was more intermediate. So if you are doing something that's a bit challenging, try to balance it. So if your Cricut Design Space work is a bit challenging for you, do a project that's not so challenging. Okay, so then we're going to just bend the wings, and here we've created a beautiful 3D butterfly, and so I'm also going to bend the acetate as well. So that's what we created. So you can see there's a cutout, and this is beautiful. Now you can use plain clear acetate for this project, but I wanted to use this foil acetate for it. All right, let's switch to the front. Hello everyone, I'm so sorry we've gone over. So this is the one that I've already done. And this is the one that we are going to just quickly put together while you guys watch me. So what do I use to put this together? So this is actually a straw. I like using straws. This didn't come with the straw, that's why I used my own colorful straw. I like doing the straws. I think they're fun. What you can also use, sorry, let me just grab all of my supplies. Okay, so for this project, skewers are definitely a great thing to use, especially if you're doing something like this. You want to put those on skewers. You can also use toothpicks as well. I prefer to actually, you'll see now, none of these are attached to anything. What I like to use in my gifts, so this came with an extra straw, so I used the straw to create balance for this face mask here. The face mask, sometimes, depending on how big my project is, you can see it's pretty sturdy. Sometimes I will put it on a skewer. You're going to use just invisible tape and you're going to tape it to the skewer. Inside, you can put anything from styrofoam or what do you call that other thing? Florist foam, right? So sometimes with these bouquets, I actually use fresh flowers. And so when I use fresh flowers, then I'm going to use the florist foam stuff or styrofoam. And the reason for that is if I'm doing flowers, the flowers probably come up to here. So all of the little gifts need to stand a bit higher. And so in that case, I am going to use a styrofoam and skewers to keep everything in place. What I did with this set, and so you can get this set from Mr. Price. It comes with a hair clip. That's a hair clip. That's a headband. These are little armbands. What I like to do, so what I'm going to do with this one, which is already stuffed, I don't actually like to put any stuffing. I mean, you can put tissue paper. I don't like the tissue paper to come out. And so what I do is all my little pieces, I use that to create, to get everything to stay where it needs to stay. Now I'm going to do this from the back, so it's probably not going to be the greatest. So I've got just stuffing in here. You can use this kind of a stuffing. I call it harmonica paper. I don't know what it's called. You can use bubble wrap if you want. You can use tissue paper. But now we're going to, after I put the face mask in, I'm going to put the Alice band. So the Alice band, because this is a lot smaller than I used these headbands to hold it together. So I usually buy invisible hairbands or clear hairbands or ones like these. I like these because they come in different colors, and so I can match the color to the headband. I'm out of black, and so I just create a, let me bring this down. I just create a way to hold the hairband together and to keep its shape. All right, so here, and then you can kind of fix the mask behind it. And then I'm going to use, so these are the things, they're like armbands. So I'm going to use these now to fill in the gaps. Usually this set here, the one that I get from Mr. Price, comes in a 5-piece. So it also comes with an extra like scrunchies that I make into flowers. But this set, the black one, didn't. It only came with 3 pieces. So I am missing a bit of stuffing, but this is what I use to create like stuffing, if you will. And so I'm just going to pop these in front. Now, depending on what I'm putting into the tumbler, sometimes I will put some tissue paper underneath, or sometimes I'll put socks underneath to create that balance. But generally, I like to fill it up so that that's how you create your stability. if you are not finding that stability, then of course, please do use your skewers. I like to make sure that I'm not mixing. So if I'm using skewers, I will stick to skewers and toothpicks. If I'm using these ice cream sticks, I will stick to the ice cream sticks. I probably should have brought these up here. For the teens and tweens, I also like to do these fun little straws here. So if you can see, the little hair clip is on the straw for the cup. And so for the teens and tweens, sometimes I like to do something a little fun like this. It's completely up to you. And so now we're going to put this is what we made. So it's got a little 3D. So we're going to pop that in here. And so depending on how I do it, I would either put this on a toothpick. Sometimes I make it as a box. That's what it was supposed to be. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And then oopsie, I should probably put it on a toothpick. Okay, then I'm going to put my straw in there. So again, the straw is going to create a barrier to hold everything together. And I'm going to slip my lid on there. And the lid is also going to create a barrier. Now, I will say the hardest part of these projects is fiddly. Once you figure out where everything needs to go, it will take you some time to fiddle around. But once you do, it's going to be really, really cute. So I'm not going to, let me use the one that I made with the toothpick. So I'll pop a toothpick on the other one when you guys aren't here. Okay, there you go. There you go. So that's it. And then because this one only came with 3 pieces, I did make a little acetate flower as well. So you can see here. So I love making these tumbler bouquets. There's so much you can do with them. They're so fun. And I will, every time I make one, and for small business, or I make it for my friends or for birthdays, and I walk around with it, everyone always, it's one of those showstopper pieces that everybody kind of stops you for. Oh my gosh, how cute is that? Okay, there's our project. And these are the little petals. You can fold them in. You can make it as cute as you want. You can add ribbons. You can add a name. So if you are someone who has a small business and you're looking for something new to add to your small business, I absolutely love these. They are a little bit different to your usual, just the tumbler with the name on it. And again, I actually had this in there before, behind it. You can add so much. I could have added it here, for example, with the skewer so that it stands nicely. It's just fun. And then I wanted to show you guys before I go, although I lost it. Oh, here. So with your invisible tape, if you want to add a skewer or a toothpick to one of your pieces, let's bring this baby here so I don't knock it off the table. And the small one, let's put it over here. Okay, so if you want to add a skewer to one of your pieces, I like to keep the pointy part at the bottom. So if I'm using styrofoam or florist tape or anything like that it sticks. So you're going to basically stick it on here with your invisible tape. Sometimes I like to keep the lip products, for example, in the box, but this time I thought that it looked better without the box, so I took it out. But you can use your invisible tape. I didn't do that very well, but you can use your invisible tape. There you go. This is how you make your little pieces, and then you pop them in. So if I wanted to pop it in here, but this is a bit too short for these skewers. Like I said, I wasn't supposed to use this one today. I was supposed to use a jumbotron like this one, and this one has a little bow on it as well. So that is the project, and I hope you guys are going to do an acetate project and post it in the group. It is acetate with Cricut SA. Please use the hashtag. That's our little project. Thank you so much for joining my class. I'm so sorry we went over. Please tag me in your projects if you do them, and I hope that you like